G'day, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Intuitions and Orgasms. Jen Hamilton, you're back from Perth and vibrant, bringing all the good weather back to Brisbane.
I am. It was 25 degrees here today. It is warming up already. It was so cold in Perth. I'm not built for the cold.
16 here or something. So, yeah. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Wow, we have a hot topic today, don't we?
Yes, because I saw a statistic probably about 2 weeks ago.
You love a good statistic. You are the statistic guy.
Banking, data-driven shit. Around about 70% of marriages are sexless, or close to sexless, depending on what's the average kind of stuff, right? Most people are in the sexless, like having sex less than 12 times a year kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Most relationships, especially long-term relationships.
Yep.
And I found that frightening. But I want to know, and especially from a guy perspective, why does my wife stop having sex with me?
Wow, how long have we got here? And look, I just want to let you know, I had sex over 12 times just last week. We're still in the honeymoon phase, and we don't spend a lot of physical time together, so we make up for lost time when we get into. I can't relate to people within sexless marriages and sexless relationships, but I have absolutely been in relationships before where it kind of gets like, yeah, suppose, or like you kind of got to you go out and you have a couple of drinks, you do something that kind of lifts your spirits a little bit to get you in the mood a bit more. Because I feel like, when I reflect on the relationships that I've been in where it got to that point, other than the fact that there was kids involved with the kid's dad, in other relationships, it's been like, I wasn't actually vocal about what my desires were, what I truly wanted, how I wanted to connect. And I'm not one that just sort of says, oh, yeah, we'll just do it for the sake of it or bargain with it. I've never been a bargainer with it. I'm just like, I'll service myself. It's fine.
Yeah. Look, it's I sort of see it and you'll see it the same way as a holistic point of view, is that we have a lot of dual income families these days where both parents are working. You've also got high stress levels with kids and, taking kids there and taking kids here. You've got society stresses on top of that about trying to gain material wealth to try and prove that you have some kind of freedom or whatever status in life. There are so many pressures on us as couples, as families, and we don't understand, men are very visual. So we see boobs, we don't have sex. Women, are different completely differently from a place they're emotional beings, right? And I think, and especially from a female, when I see female clients, they're exhausted, they're tired, they're stressed, and there's a lack of communication in the relationship. And what does that do to a woman's sex drive?
It goes out the window. It really does. As you said, men are very visual and physical. Women need the emotional connection. Definitely not at the start. We're not talking the first couple of years of a relationship where it's all fun or exciting. You don't have kids. Maybe you're trying to get pregnant, so you're just doing it like rabbits all of the time.
Or even if you've had a bad day at work, you'll come home and have sex because it's a stress relief.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, as you said, everyone's walking around so stressed, whether it's financial stress, whether it's just general stress at work, the kids, things to be done at home, the piling stuff to do. It feels like our relationships and connections just seem to be taking a back seat. And this is the problem, because that's when, we really dove into the Coldplay Kiss Cam cheating scandal.
Yeah.
To be a fly on the wall in his place prior to that happening, that what wasn't he getting at home? Where was he not able to meet his wife to make himself desirable to her? And where was she perhaps not, desirable to him? There was a breakdown somewhere along the line. Two people in love, having a lot of sex and connected, don't go off and have affairs. It just doesn't happen.
No, no. And I think that there's a lot of blame these days of you're not doing this and you're not doing that and you're not meeting my standards. But I think we probably need to talk about it's a lot of, and I've got a friend who listens to this and she's got a partner who's asexual and he's a dude,
Mm,
just not interested, right? And he's a heavy gamer, right? So he's getting his dopamine hits from that crew and stuff like that. But for a female, if you've got a female that's work stress, work pressure, kids stress, kids pressure, they're over 35, hormones, right? Or if you're mid 40s, perimenopause kind of stuff. There's a lot to sort of understand, and I think that rather than actually sort of blame someone else, we lack that conviction to, one, like you said, have that communication about, hey guys, look, our sex life is not actually that good.
mm,
And to have that conversation as the starter and say something's not working here and
mm-hmm,
it's not healthy. I want to have more sex, but I keep getting no, or I keep getting rejected, or I keep getting told I've got a headache, or I keep getting told that whatever excuse on the face of the planet is the reason why you can't do it.
mm-hmm,
And then that creates that sense of, well, if I'm going to get rejected every time, I'm going to stop asking.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we also get to acknowledge that, we've talked about the nice guy before.
Hmm.
Nice guys don't fuck well. And this
Please.
is the thing, nice guys don't like getting feedback because they're like, but I do this and I provide that and I give you everything that you want. But when it comes to the bedroom, it's like they just suck. They
Yeah.
just suck. And I'm speaking from personal experience and talking to girlfriends, clients, like women talk.
Yes, you
And
do.
it's not about putting them down. It's not about saying you're not doing it properly. It's allowing, like, being open to hearing the feedback. It's not that we are trying to make you feel bad as women to say, I'm really not enjoying this, or I don't appreciate that you're like finishing in, a couple of pumps and dump. You
Yeah.
know, Men, especially the nice guys, they're so sensitive. They don't want to receive that feedback. They're not strong enough for that feedback. And so it creates separation. That's where, like, I definitely know that affairs start through that. Um, the lack of conversation, the lack of that communication, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, well, we'll just watch a movie instead, or we'll just do this, or I'll fall asleep. Like, there's no drive and there's no desire. And so in order for, and it could be the other way around as well. The woman could be like completely just switched off, doesn't enjoy it, bit of a dud, maybe. Let's call a spade a spade. And all he wants to say is, hey, I want to try these things. But so much offense seems to be taken when feedback comes down to, talking about sex and how we are in the bedroom.
It's hard because one, most people lack the ability to communicate in any kind of way at all, and this is a very touchy subject. Like, it's to bring this up and to say to your intimate partner that the one thing that differs us from being friends is the intimate connection, and that's actually shit. To actually sort of broach
Mm,
that subject and say, hey, this isn't working, without turning into a complete shit show, is probably why people like us, is because it's a very
mm-hmm,
tricky thing to navigate, because it's opening up some very, very vulnerable places in each person as to going, well, why don't you want to have that kind of, why has your sex drive gone? Or,
mm,
like you said, do I still have a sex drive, but it's not just with you,
mm-hmm,
right? Or is it that I'm so many things are going on inside my body that I just don't feel like I can do have this with you and all this kind of stuff, right? So
mm-hmm,
it does take that sort of sitting down and going, hey, this is what I would like. Right now, it's not where I would like it. I want to know from your perspective, what's happened.
mm,
Is there something that is happening for you? Is there something that's happening hormonally? Is there something that's happening at work? Is there something from a stress perspective? Is there something that I've done, like I may put on 35 kilos,
mm.
right? Are there things
Yeah.
there that are
I
contributing
think we
to the
also need to
factor
look
that,
at, sorry.
I keep going.
I think we also need to look at environmental factors. And like you did mention hormones, and I know that we can always relate women's hormones to lack of sex drive, but let's talk about men
Men's
and
as well.
testosterone because
Yep.
men that have low testosterone, very feminine. I hate to say this because I was in the community before, but I don't think I've ever met a strong, masculine vegan man. And I came to
You're going
realize
for it.
this when Cass came into my life because he was carnivore when he came into my life. And I was like, I was hardcore vegan. I was against meat. And I would be so turned on watching him rip apart and eat meat. I couldn't explain it. But he was just like his testosterone is so high. Like you guys have heard Cass's voice. He's got a very deep voice. He's got a very strong body, very masculine. Like Cass is in his early 50s. He could run rings around guys in their 20s and 30s in all of the ways. And so I think men that don't like work out, you have a spiritual side to themselves, eat meat. Like this all plays a part. Like I don't really want to bring up my ex too much, but I have been in this situation before with someone who has been plant-based, lacking in testosterone and lacking in drive.
Yeah, and it's quite common. Like the men's testosterone levels are plummeting.
Yeah.
Heavily, and then you got society thing as well too, trying to make every man a woman's girlfriend. You know, soft and caring and empathetic and all that kind of stuff. But everything else
Mm.
that masculine is being called as being toxic, right? So it's a complex web, but I think, like you said before, it comes down to a basic thing: is that the ability to communicate your needs in a way that your
Mm.
partner can act. You can actually have a communication where this isn't working. How do we actually communicate our needs and understand reasons why it's actually fallen off a cliff? There will probably be good
Mhm.
reasons, and most of it can be fixed. It's just that most
Absolutely.
people go out the fact is you're not having sex with me. What the fuck is going on? And they shut down instead of having that communication. They shut down and then they go and have an affair.
Exactly. Exactly. I honestly feel like you've got to ask yourself the question, what are you going to do about it? Because it's all well and good to talk about it, but action needs to happen. So, for example, I know myself, and I know that many women that will listen to this can resonate with this. If we're uncomfortable in our body, we are
Yeah,
self conscious, we don't want to have sex. We don't want
yeah,
to be touched in the places that feel a little bit jiggly or rolly. And so, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to, soothe yourself by eating more chocolates and cake? Or are you going to go to the fucking gym so you can feel good in your own body? Not just to look good for your partner, but when you look good, when you feel good in your own body, like you are just like this, like magnetic feminine goddess that just like is wants to ravish her partner because she feels good within herself.
yeah. And this is where we talked about weaponizing sex the last time. Is that you're then, because of your own self worth issues, you're punishing your partner for
Mhm.
your inaction about your own state. And this is what I said before about coming back to self awareness and accountability. Is that if your sex life between the two of you in a partnership has gone off the rails, have a look at your role in that as to reasons why that's happened.
Mm.
And again, there might be good reasons, but it's like, well, yes, I'm just not interested anymore. And that might be something you have to navigate, and there'll be multiple reasons why. And it may be exactly that I've lost all confidence in my body shape. I used to be, whatever. But then, as you get older, you know, things get jiggly a
Things get
bit.
bigger and wobbly. Oh, exactly. It happens.
And that happens, right? And that's where you have to go, well, am I going to sacrifice the happiness of my relationship for my own selfish interest about,
Mm.
I'm gonna forfeit and negate a connection with my partner who wants to have that with me because
Mm.
I feel horrible about who I am, but not do anything about
Mm.
it.
Exactly. And it might not be that you want to, tighten up the jiggly bits or anything like that. It's whether you love yourself or not. If you don't love yourself, that is like that's the groundwork that you have to come and do. It's not necessarily be about being a certain size, looking a certain way. It's how comfortable you are in your own skin. And if you're not comfortable in your own skin, what are you going to do about it? Simple as
And
that.
it may be just part of the acceptance, the fact that you're going to have jiggly bits now.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
you
It's just the way it
ask
is
your
for now.
partner, quite often your partner will say, "I love those jiggly bits," right? Because
Yeah,
they're my jiggly bits.
exactly.
We've grown 5 kids through those jiggly bits.
Exactly, like, there's that softness that a woman has if she's not
Yeah.
as, like, super fit, like, I prefer like, I really love my body, I've got the soft bits, I'm not a super big person, but there's a lot of softness as well, and I like that, do you know what I mean? I've got myself to a comfortable point in my life where I'm not hating on my body, I learned to love myself and my body, and really just give my body a break, and instead of, like, punishing myself constantly, I learned how to nourish myself, and through that I was like, this is the way I am. And that promotes confidence. When you love yourself for who you are and you can be confident, that's what's magnetizing. It's not being a certain size, it's not having abs, it's not having ginormous fake tits. It's how
Mm.
you be within yourself.
And this is what happens. People just check out because what they do is instead of confronting the issue, the elephant in the room, they just stop having sex. And
Mhm.
that continues on for, you know, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and then there's resentment come in. And then
Mhm.
and then weaponization does come in because you go, well, if you're going to have sex with me, I'm going to withhold this from you for the
Yeah.
next 2 years or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Because and this toxicity comes in between the two people because they won't have a simple conversation about the fact of that there is an issue in the relationship.
Mhm.
Most people avoid conflict at all costs because they don't know how to have conflict. But if you
Mhm.
can have conflict, it's not going to be an easy conversation and
No.
talk about the reasons why because you might get to the point and go, yeah, I know my husband needs to have sex once or twice a week.
Mm.
I know that makes him feel good, and I know that actually it's a stress relief for him, and I know he likes that to have that connection. But if I withhold that from him, well then, do I have the self awareness to understand what it does to him?
Mm.
How is he feeling to have that withdrawn from him or her, right? All of a sudden, to go
Mhm.
from having it to not having it, and then going, well, okay, well, what have I done? Or why is my partner rejecting me now? Why is it always no? It's not the right time or whatever. It's a tricky thing to sort of just navigate, and you need to be able to have that initial conversation and go, something's changed here. We need to sort of sort this out. And I know people in their 60s who are having sex like their 20s because they have a open
Mhm.
communication and they make it about a deeper sense of connection and they've navigated the different parts in life and they have that open honest conversation about that this is important because as I said to a friend of mine the other day is that if you're not having sex, that's the only difference between friends and a relationship.
Mhm.
That's the difference.
And sometimes it's not even friends. Sometimes it's not even a friendship there. They're just ending up resenting each other.
Yeah, correct. Because like the resentment that comes in, it becomes a very black dark cloud over the relationship once you start withholding that,
Mhm.
not communicating about it, and then weaponizing on the end of that, right? Because
Mhm.
it's a tension you can feel as you walk into a place. You can sort of walk in here and go, "Well, something ain't right here." This is you can cut it with a knife. That's how thick it
Mm.
is, right? Because it's
Yeah.
it's something that's vital for people, but then all of a sudden it just stops happening, and then we stop communicating about it. So if someone's in this place where they've gone from having a fairly good sex life
Mhm.
to not having it at all, you're the tantra expert. For me, it'd be like, right, okay, let's have it out. But you're probably a bit more softer than me. How would you let's say husband and wife that they would
Mhm.
have sex maybe 12 times a year. They used to have it a lot more. They have it once a month. And let's say for one person, it's not enough. The other person, that's probably more than enough.
Too much.
How do
Yeah.
you actually handle that stuff?
Yeah, and it's funny before you even mentioned tantra, I was like, "Come and see me, I'm a tantra teacher." Like, let's get that sorted because what we wanna bring it right back to is intimacy, and it doesn't even have to be about sex. Let's make sex something in the future to move towards, because if 2 people are coming to me and one person wants it and one person doesn't, and I'm saying, "Just have sex," they're not coming back to me. They're hating on me. They're going to be like, go fuck yourself, Jen, right? So we want to bring it right back to what is it that made you guys fall in love to begin with? Where did it first start for you? What was the attraction? What did you enjoy doing together? Who enjoys sensual touch? Who wants a massage here? Who likes to give, who likes to receive and then swap over? Do you want to go and explore? Like, do you want to go to a temple night watching other people live, for example, getting it on? You guys are just there together in your own little bubble, but there's something really activating and stimulating about that. Is it something that you want to explore watching like decent pornography together? Like there's some like real crap stuff out there, but is it going to turn you on to watch other couples making love or doing the Kama Sutra? Is it about having a little bit of fun? Do you want to play Naked Twister and share a bottle of champagne together? There's so many different things that you can do just to reconnect and have intimacy. Write each other love letters. Write each other a spicy love letter. Send text messages throughout the day to let the other person know that you're thinking of them. It's the things that are just going to build that fun and enjoyment, because sex without intimacy is just nerve endings being stimulated over like a 10-minute time frame.
Mm.
And that's not fun. Nobody wants that. That's not divine connection. Like that's not unity. That's not fucking like I want to rip your clothes off and like let's go all night and let's then do it again in the morning. If you're going into it going, oh, look at the time we're on for our once a month time slot. You take your clothes off. Oh, I'll take my clothes off. Oh, okay, we're doing it. Nobody wants that. There's no appeal to that. So before we even get to the point of like naked bodies coming together, sit and just look at each other in the eyes, just connect. There's a beautiful practice where you can take it in turns to say what you love about each other.
Mm.
Just really what you acknowledge about your partner, really see them for who they are beyond the physical, see what they're doing in life, see how they're showing up for the family or the relationship, tell them what they're doing around the house that you really admire. People love being complimented, so it's going to be about, it sounds so basic to begin with, but it's really so beautiful. It's going to get you in the mood.
It is, but what you're articulating there is basic relationship 101 stuff. Like it's connection, it's communication, it's presence,
Mm-hmm.
it's self-awareness, it's interest, it's curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
That's
what it's
why,
going to take.
and that's what I said is that we get so caught up in our careers and climbing the ladder and then forget about why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get too tired and you're too, it's a sort of a term I coined called cognitive overwhelm, is that
Mm-hmm.
we're so prefrontal cortex overwhelmed throughout the day of dealing with logic and intellect and intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
When we get home, we have no ability to connect emotionally with anybody else, that we're just knackered, we're tired. How many people are coming home and they're already spent?
And then they're just getting on social media on their phones to like
Dopamine.
scroll hole and zoom out and just relax from the day, or they're putting the TV on. Like the screens is what's killing a lot of relationships as
Yeah.
well, or bringing work home, or trying to catch up on things that you couldn't do during the day.
Mm. Yeah. And it's the priorities are all wrong, and that's the thing. It's resetting that thing about, well, what's the main thing that we need to do here is to reconnect. And like you said, like the sex is the cherry on the top of intimacy, and
Mm-hmm.
intimacy has these aspects to it which require that real curiosity and interest about the other person. Because when you're first dating, you're screwing your head out. Is the
Mm-hmm.
fact is you are curious, you're talking, you're conversing, you're sitting down, you're looking in the other person's eyes. 30 years later, you're at dinner doing this, right?
Exactly.
And you wonder why it goes out the window. Or
Mm-hmm.
you're putting more effort into your career than you are into your relationship and wonder why it goes belly up, right? It's so there's a lot of factors, and that's the thing is about, okay, there's a reason why things are happening, and usually very good reasons for it. You're just unaware of the reasons why. The lack of sex in the relationship is your red flag to
Mm-hmm.
address it.
And the thing is, when you bring sex and intimacy back in, there's your dopamine. There's your
It's
connection.
the
There's
whole, the whole
yeah, like you're sleeping better, you're motivated for life, you're getting up, you're more productive during the day, you're excited, you're joyful. Like there's so many things that sex can provide other than just orgasms, other than just
heart rate.
stimulation at the time. What's
Yeah,
that?
healthy heart rate. Like
Yes.
cardiovascular, you know, it's you're doing your stomach muscles rather than going to the gym, right? So, but
Do it for your heart health.
yeah, someone should do a study on that one day about having sex 3 times a week increases your life expectancy by 10 years. I'm sure they can come up with a
You
stat.
heard it here first. Take it from us. Take it from us.
Um,
And remembering as well, like it's okay to go through a lull. It doesn't mean the relationship is completely broken. It
no,
doesn't mean that it's all over Red Rover and you can't come back from this. You absolutely can. It's going to take two very willing people. If one person is throwing shade, if one person's digging their heels in, they're the one with the fucking problem. They're
so
the one that's got to deal with this shit.
let's say one person just goes, no, I'm not interested anymore. One person is really still highly sexual, still really attracted to their partner. The other person is obviously still attracted to, but not sexually. And for
Mm-hmm.
them, sex is something that's not a high priority, and their sex drive is actually non-existent. In that space, what happens to a relationship when that scenario happens?
Look, a couple of things can happen here. It can either go completely down the gurgler, or it could fall into that friendship, co-parenting. We're just going to be buddies that live together. We hug, we kiss, we love each other, but that's as far as it goes. And look, some couples thrive in that. Some couples genuinely get to a point where it's like, okay, well, you don't want sex. I love you for who you are. I accept you that this is the way that you are, and that's okay. Some people will completely abandon their own needs and desires for the sake of their loved one because that's what they believe marriage is about. And that's a whole different separate conversation about self
Yeah,
abandonment.
it is. It is. Look,
Because if you're giving up something that is so important to you from that connection level, from making love with a partner is such an incredible spiritual experience when you want it to be. Like you can go places, like there is cool shit out there, like
yeah.
sex magic to play with, to work with the energy of orgasm to reach higher states of consciousness. That can be pretty advanced stuff for people, but there is so much, like you can explore so many things sexually behind closed doors that's just not accepted anywhere else. Like you can incorporate different foods, toys, textures, props, words, dress ups, like all of these things that you can create behind closed doors in your sex life that no one, you're walking down the street, no one's got a fucking clue that you're
Not
into some wildly kinky shit. And
correct.
you're like, fuck yeah, that's liberating.
Yeah.
Because when you are so expansive in your sexuality, and that's completely subjective. Expansive in sexuality is like whatever you decide it to be, you know? But when you have that, when you know that that's kind of like tucked away within you, where you're like, I do that thing, or I like that thing, or I'm good at that thing. It's almost like a superpower. It's almost like you've got your Clark Kent to Superman under there, you know?
It, it's yeah. Because again, it just comes back to your ability to be able to raise it with your partner, to sit there and it, most people do not have the skill set to raise it. Most
Mhm.
people, 98% or 99% of people, because you're sitting in a place where there's emotion, there's rejection, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on in you, and you're starting from that position. So
Mhm.
imagine the conversation is going to happen without any ability to navigate that. And if you're coming from that's your starting gate,
Mhm.
imagine how that conversation is going to go.
Yeah, it could go full fucking banshee. And like and
Probably,
even the best communicators can still have this. Like I still have this. Like Cass might say to me, "Hey, you open to having a conversation about something?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'm open to having a conversation." Get into the conversation. Absolutely not in the place to have the conversation. Thanks very much.
yeah, yeah. Because it's when you get to the place where you're saying to somebody, what I need is not being met,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very touchy subject, because that will trigger, and most likely trigger, other people's insecurities straight away. And in that place, defensivism gets paramount in the front, because
Mm-hmm.
and what a lot of people do, rather than actually take that as a curiosity and go, okay, my partner's needs aren't being met, help me understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people get defensive
Mm-hmm.
about their own position and try and protect the space from them being hurt as well too, because I don't want to hear that maybe I am the cause of that person's unhappiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you go straight into defense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the biggest piece of advice I can give before that conversation comes is to pre-frame. Like pre-frame, like sit down. Are you open to having a conversation about something right now? What I want you to know is how much I love this, and this about you. I really acknowledge this, and I love we're in a place like this. What I'm bringing up in this conversation is not a direct hit at you. It's for us to expand. Are you open to receiving that right now? If you go bullet a gate with your opinion or your needs, or like, you did this, you're not doing this, it's
Yep.
going to fucking explode. We know this. So
Yeah.
pre-frame, ask your partner if they're open to having that conversation, if they're in a place to receive it. Because if they've just walked in, they've had a hell of a day, like they've lost a big sale, they've done this, they've done that, and you're just like, bam, I got this for you. I'm telling you now, you're going to like, it's going to blow. It's going to blow. It's not going to get anywhere. They're going to become defensive. They're going to tell you to fuck off. They're going to want to like, fight about it. And it's going to get you nowhere. If you come from a place of softness, curiosity, support, openness, lovingly going, are you open to having this conversation? This is going to be a bit uncomfortable. What I want you to know is that I'm here for you. I love you. This is not a dig at you. I love what we have. I love the space that we're in. However, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a really, really important way that people can articulate that conversation, because it is, um, it's a very, very profound tool set you're talking about there, because you are preempting an outcome as well too, about you're setting the seeds about what you want to get out of this at the end of the conversation,
Mm.
which is not maybe an outcome but an understanding.
Yeah, it's an understanding so that you can move forward together, and to also want to receive feedback as well. Like,
Yeah,
how is your partner feeling about this? Like, like, get curious, invite in conversation with them about, well, how do you feel about this? And, what is really going on for you? And are you happy where things are at? Or can you see us making changes? Like, and it shouldn't be a hard thing to do. It shouldn't be a hard conversation. And then if they do get defensive when you're being really soft, there's an issue there. There's one hell of an issue there, because if you can't meet in soft conversation in this way, if you can't meet in like supportive communication, there's a big fucking problem.
that's some heavy therapy.
Mm,
That space, because what you're doing there, like you said, really good points, is that coming in from that softness, that person may then go open up as like, yeah, I'm having really bad body image issues. Like, I can't sit in the mirror and look in the mirror each morning. I
mm,
hate the way I look. And if I hate the way I look, then I can't get naked. I can't get comfortable. I can't even, be present when we're having sex, is because I just feel horrible about the way that I look. And
mm,
in that space is like, and men tend to, at that point, try to fix shit, which, no, boys, don't, right? Because you can't fix that. Is that that's where it's okay, right? I can understand that. What can we do that may be a little bit easier for you to partake? Maybe it might be with some clothes on. Maybe it might be with,
mm.
with the lights off. So, there is certainly things you can do that sort of help the situation. This is why having some experts, especially like yourself, generally who are tantra experts, to be able to give people tool sets to go, okay, well, if that's the case, while you work on your own issues about your body, because you have to do that, because if you don't do that, this is going to turn into disaster, right? It's going to end in a bad
Yeah.
place. Take accountability for it. And if you do want to, re-engage that sex drive and re-engage that connection between the two of you, is that go and get help for that. And in the meantime, there are things you can do to meet your needs. And it may be uncomfortable. It may be really uncomfortable. but that's the understanding between that communication style you're talking about. You're talking about in a very calm, sophisticated, caring, intuitive,
Mm-hmm.
holistic way.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what we want. And it's really interesting, like on the body image thing, and you can speak about this from a guy's perspective. Most, I'm going to say, like, it's a made up statistic. Maybe 90% of women have body image issues and how they look and how it affects their sex life. And they're self-conscious the whole time, going, "Oh my God, don't touch there. Oh my God, don't look there." Does it matter to guys?
No,
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 no.
no.
They're just excited that they're getting their dick wet.
Pretty much. Um, Look, I mean, if, from a guy's perspective, and you got we talked about this before about people pleasure and stuff. You've got different versions of men, right? You've got the guys who their only focus is how can I please her, right? Which is off putting, right? You guys can feel that as bad. It's like he's
Mm,
trying to please me. Then you've got the guys who it's all about them, and that is just dump and run, right?
mhm.
Um, and then you got the guys who explore between two people, which is sometimes you play different roles in that space of exploring each other's kind of sexuality. That's probably the more point there is that middle person there is the healthy one where you can explore that. But what happens that person's quite rare as well too, because like we've talked before about stuff, is that when you leave school, you'll go to university to get a master's degree in an MBA in business. You'll go and get your lawyer degree. You'll go and get your psychology degree. You'll go and get your arts degree. You'll go and learn a trade or something like that. The amount of people who learn about communication and sexual compatibility and talking about this is 0.000000001%,
Mhm.
and then we expect it to work.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no handbook for this stuff that you're given when you leave school or when you get to a certain age. No one tells you about this stuff.
And no one explores this. Nobody actually wants to learn about this stuff. They just go and think, oh, we can just go and have sex. But then I wonder why it falls apart is because, well, have you learned about intimacy? Have you learned about communication? Have you learned about tantra? Have you learned about Kama Sutra? Have you learned about spiritual connection? No, we're just having sex,
No, we just watch porn to figure it out.
right? And thinking that that's the way it is.
Mm,
So you've got a whole group of people trying to talk Chinese, but they're French.
mhm,
I wonder why the person who's Chinese doesn't understand them.
mhm,
It just that doesn't work. So you've got a lot of people trying to make it work, but using the wrong language to do that, and it's people it's quite frustrating for a French, and I can sit and go, hey, you want to have a good relationship? So all you need to do is come and see someone like us, and we can help you resolve this. But
mm,
people tend not to do that. So
mm,
it's it's frustrating sometimes because you kind of sit there and go, "Hey guys,
mm.
stop bitching and moaning about your relationship.
Yeah.
Do something about it. Go and learn about tantra. Go and look about what these
Yeah.
skill sets are, because the reason that the number one thing in life is your ability to connect and communicate with another human being and to have that intimacy connection. It's a reason why you got 50% divorce rates. It's a reason why 75% or 70% of marriage therapy fails, because you're trying to do systems and tools and processes. You got people out there promoting attachment styles and love languages, right, through a book, and someone's going, my attachment style is this. And it's like, no, it's not.
No,
No.
it's because you're telling yourself that that's what it is because someone's validating your shitty excuses. That's all that is.
Correct. And then you're telling your partner, my attachment style was this, and my love language is acts of affection. And if you do acts of affection, then I'm going to, it's like, well, I'm doing acts of affection. I'll give you an example, right? I had a client, and that was exactly the thing. They read the love languages book, right?
Mhm,
And their love language was words of affirmation. And I said, okay, go for it. You do what the book says. Come back to me in a month's time. Let's see if you're actually even better off. No.
of course not.
Because it was like, oh, I'm giving you words of affection,
Mm,
but it's so much more deeper and complex than that.
It is, and the thing is, like, you can't just pick one or two. You can't categorize these things. Like, I put all 5 of those love languages as equal because I love it all, and they all have a place. But when I'm experiencing, one thing with my partner, I don't need to be experiencing the other thing. Like, it's not that there's a priority. It's all of it. It's
Yeah.
holistic. It's all encompassing. Like, it's a crock of shit.
But people jump on the bandwagon with it. So it's look, it's hard, but all I would say to people is that your ability to communicate that first conversation, like you said before, Jen, is the critical part. If you can come home and say, "Hey, yeah, are you open for a call? Or open for a talk?
Mm,
You know, I would like to talk about this, and I love you, and this is what I love about you, and I love about the relationship. I
mm,
want to sort of come to an understanding and understand the way that we can move forward with this.
mm.
Um, is now the right time to sort of have this conversation? Hey,
See what happens.
yeah. But then you've got the other side of things where that's not how people communicate. What happens? How do people usually communicate this issue?
They yell at each other. They throw things at each other. And this is the thing, like, and we talk about this all the time. When you understand, like, human psychology, when you understand connection, communication, how to talk to people, whether this is in the corporate space or the home environment or even a friendship space, you are well ahead of the game. You are
Oh,
so far ahead because it's not even about getting what you want. It's about communicating exactly what you need. It's about hearing other people as well.
yeah,
Hearing what people are saying and then understanding what they're not saying in that, what they're saying by what they're not saying, because no communication is still communication.
so let's talk about needs, right? And I'm gonna let you in a little, let listeners on a little dark art psychology here as to human needs, right? People talk about needs. I need my need for connection. If someone's saying that they have a need for connection, it's also their greatest insecurity and their greatest fear of not
Hmm.
having it.
Hmm.
So you also, by them saying that I have a need for connection,
Hmm.
you now know their trauma as a child.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's their biggest fear of not having it. So by saying that in a positive way,
Mm,
you then now know their greatest fear in life is not to have human communication or human connection.
mm,
As of a trauma in childhood, they didn't have that. So usually needs, human needs on the scale,
hmm.
if they the higher up, that's what they're missing in life.
I heard that that's what the love languages actually represented, what was lacking in childhood. So, what it is that you so desire as the highest thing that you need in a relationship is what you were lacking. So, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
And this is where it kind of, you and I sort of come in and help people understand this stuff and go, hey, Jenny here is, well, let's put another name. Sophie here says that one of her needs appreciation. You
mhm,
know, Mark says some of his is appreciation and validation, right?
mhm,
Mark wasn't validated as a child.
mhm.
Mark wasn't appreciated, didn't get words of, hey, well done, good job, right?
Yeah.
So his need is that, right? So then as a partner, you now know that by Mark saying his need, you now know the fact of, right, okay, there is his trauma.
Mhm,
There is something there that I need to make sure that when I'm not validating him, he has self worth issues. And
mm,
then Mark knows now, okay, I need to address the fact of somewhere back in childhood, I wasn't appreciated or wasn't given words of affection that
mhm,
then I needed to perform to try and get that, which is why I have this corporate career, trying to get validation and performance and try and get status
mhm.
from that point of view, right?
Mhm.
And how that ties into sex is a whole different kettle of fish. But this is how complex, it's not complex, but it's easy to understand when you start seeing a playbook about how
Mm,
people operate. But you just can't come into a conversation and just go, we're not having sex. What the fuck are you doing about it? We used to have sex a lot. Now you're
mhm,
withholding it from me. Why?
mhm. Yeah. There's so many reasons why. And if you love your partner, listen to them. Hold space
Mm.
for them. Like come in cherishing them, loving them, wanting to support them, not just because you want to get your rocks off, but because you genuinely love them. And that's a loving thing to do as a partner. You know,
Yeah.
you should be celebrating each other, championing in each other, really just adoring on each other. Like that's what you're there for in partnership, in marriage.
Yeah, because for someone to come and approach that topic with you as in a couple is a very vulnerable place to be, right? Because you, based on most relationships, coming to a partner with that kind of conversation, 98% of the time ends in disaster
Hmm.
and a massive fight and even less sex, right?
Yeah.
So, so having that place where okay, this person's bringing this up, it's not going to be easy for them. It's not
Hmm.
a pleasant conversation because it's going to touch on some places we're probably hiding in our private life or our secret life, the parts that
Hmm.
we're not telling anybody, and it's opening up a place where it's very uncomfortable for us to sit there and admit the fact is I'm I'm not coping with XXXXX.
Yeah.
I have lost my sex drive because I'm so preoccupied with this situation here at work or with the kids or whatever it is, right? Because it comes back to maybe there's something wrong with me.
And remembering as well, like that vulnerability is sexy. Like, especially like for a man to open up and share and be vulnerable, like a woman, that's a very big turn on for a lot of women to hear like what's actually real for her partner, to be like, I'm just going to lay it all out. Because, a lot of the time men are very closed off. They're very sort of withdrawn. They're very like stoic, like, no, 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 like we don't share our feelings. We don't talk about this. And women are like, just come on in, relax, like talk to me. Let me see how I
Right.
can support you.
Let's open up that can. Let's open it up because there's vulnerable and there's vulnerable.
Hmm.
And I've heard this, firsthand. A wife go, oh, my husband was vulnerable and he was emotional and he was crying. I don't respect him anymore.
Oh my gosh, there is this movement with this at the moment. I think you and I both know a guy in the space that's really leading this, and I feel it's really fucking toxic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because for a guy, just to show emotion, and there's different. Like there's emotion, and then there's being a pussy, right? There's this bawling your eyes out. I can't cope. Well, and look,
Constantly. Yeah.
I could probably retract that because a man having a breakdown and having complete collapse sometimes need to happen, right? But the ability for men to have men around them to prop them up and all that kind of stuff, right? So but there are guys who just whinge all the time, and it's all poor me, and that's a completely different. That's not
That is.
vulnerability, guys.
No, no.
That's you being
A
completely
bitch.
not a
Yeah.
bitch,
Yeah.
right? That's not
Call it first base.
vulnerability. That's not attractive.
Yeah.
But you have this thing where guys are really talking about what they're struggling with, and
Hmm.
they're being backhanded with like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
And women are going, well, no, I have no respect for you anymore because you're falling apart at the seams, and now who's going to pick up the pieces?
Hmm. They're
Who's going
supposed to be the
to
strong one. They're supposed to be this. The thing is, like, this is the duality that we see. We have, the strength and the softness. We're going to see that within everybody. It comes down to the question I asked earlier. What are you going to do about it? So
yeah,
have your vulnerability, have the fall apart, have the breakdown, lose your shit, do it, but then have a fucking plan.
yeah,
Have a little like forward motivation. And this isn't just for men, this is for women as well. Like it's the subscription model of like the healing stuff that we've spoken about before. It's going around just talking about it. You can do all the fucking inner work that you want, but if you're not doing the outer work, nothing's going to change, right? So if you're doing all of like the inside stuff, oh, I'm working with my inner child, oh, I'm talking about my feelings, oh, I'm doing this. What's happening externally to move you forward though? And
mm,
this is where I feel like the little bitch society of men has been created. I understand that. Like there's definitely been a softening of men, But it's the men that can soften and find the strength and alchemize that pain into purpose and passion, that can take it. They can work with their anger. They can work with their rage. They know where to channel it, not just to cry it out and expect to just join the girls for a cup of tea, because that's our thing. We cry into ice cream tubs. You don't.
But again, like it's like there is. I think teaching women to be able to handle that in a man as well too, because
Absolutely.
like a lot of women haven't seen that from their fathers.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen that
Mm-hmm.
stoicism, they've seen that, or the anger or rage, and the first time they see a man break down in front of them, it's like, what the fuck do I do now?
Exactly, exactly, because she doesn't know how to handle it, and then because she's going, "Ah, well, this isn't sexy, or this isn't cool, or I don't know what to do with you," he's then going, "Okay, let's just add another layer of shame on top of what I'm already feeling now, because society's telling me that I'm this, I'm just falling apart, and I'm this and that, and I should be this." Like, I genuinely feel for men in this day and age as to why it is so fucking confusing about what women want from you.
Look,
You know?
it's vulnerability, and then you get rejected again.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, well, I followed the playbook. I
Yeah, I
did
did what they said. Exactly.
and now I've got rejection again. And it's like,
Mm,
now there's shame on top of this, is the fact that I've opened up and I've
mhm,
bared my soul about my deepest insecurities. And now
mhm,
it's like, fuck, come
mhm.
on.
A true, like, divine relationship, a true, like, spiritual connection, we'll call it. It's a king and queen energy. They are
Mm,
there for each other. Like,
yeah,
they, rule their kingdom. They have their shit sorted a lot of the time. Behind closed doors, they're supporting each other.
yeah,
I couldn't do what I do without, like, the force that I have behind me with Cass's support. With him, I see his purpose and passion, and it's like my energy comes to support him as well. We hold each other through that. Of
yeah,
course, we're both going to have breakdowns. Of course, there's times of, like, throwing in the towel, wanting to give it all away. It's so challenging in some relationships. Like, we are not exempt for the challenges doing a long distance relationship and making this work, you know? And so when you realize that you're in a relationship to support your partner as they support you, and that you've got each other's backs no matter what, like, I'd be devastated if Cass turned around and said to me, "I can't handle you crying."
yeah,
You know, if I said that to him, like, it's two faced. Like, it's what's the word where you're one thing and not the other. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's I just don't see it as fair. And so I think we're in relationships to work with each other, to support each other, to celebrate each other. And if your partner's having a breakdown, if your partner's going through stuff, fucking support them through that. Like, you are their person. They're your person. Like, just be peoples together.
yeah. And then on top of it, you got the other side, the male. We're probably going longer than we usually go at the moment, but then you got the male coaching side, which is about manipulation. So you'll see a lot of uh, manipulation, influence, con artists about how to manipulate your wife into having sex again, how to get her to orgasm like there's 15 times in a row, how to get the best blowjobs in the world, how to get your wife begging for more, right? There, you've got that stuff selling a lot these days because
Mm-hmm.
men are going, well, my wife's not having sex with me. Maybe if I go and see one of these influencing guys about manipulating my wife into having sex with me, then
Mm-hmm.
that it will work, right?
Mm-hmm.
That backfires every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have to manipulate and influence somebody against their will to have sex with you,
You're a predator.
couldn't say it better.
That's disgusting. Like, it's disgusting behavior. And
No.
equally, there is stuff out there for women about how to, especially, like, draw the attention of men with money. There was, like, the sprinkle lady, like, there's, like, the bad bitch grandmother that's on, TikTok and stuff like that, where it's all about money.
Mm,
All about money. And if your relationship is built just on what you can gain financially from your partner, I'm sorry, but you are, one, fucked, and two, the relationship is fucked.
Correct. Well, I think the message here is, Jen, like we said before, I think you said it perfectly about the way that you articulate that initial conversation.
Mm.
It's preempting it.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful way, like magic words about how you have that conversation in a very conscious way, where you can sit down and have an open communication about two adult people where something's not working.
Yeah, exactly. And this doesn't just have to be in your relationship. This can be in a
Anything.
family dynamic. This can be with your kids. This can be at work with your friends. Like, this isn't just exclusive to your relationship. When you learn how to communicate, when you can articulate and, be assertive and be confident, but really supportive and soft in that as well, you're fucking winning.
I back in the corporate days, I used to use that in walking into meetings when there was difficult, like if someone wasn't performing well, you'd
Mm,
actually preempt it and say, "Hey, we're going to talk about this. This is what we're going to say. This is what I want to understand. This is the outcome I want. I'm here to support you, and this is what I want the agreement to be at the end of it as to how we move forward." And
mm.
people go, "Oh, thank God!" Rather than walking into a place knowing, "Hey, can we have a chat at 2 p.m.?"
Oh, that we need to have a chat is like I get trauma from that. It's like being called to the principal's office. That
Yeah.
happened a lot to me.
So, so Jen, where can they find us?
They can find us on Instagram. Look up Intuition and Orgasms podcast. We're on there with all of our snippets. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on your favorite podcasting platform, so you'll find us there.
As always,
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.